good morning, and welcome back, and welcome to some of my very good friends, old friends. I'm really very honored to be chairing this panel today. I can project that this panel and this afternoon's panel are going to be just as compelling as what we had yesterday. So if we want to move right along so that we have time for discussion, I want to introduce to you a dear friend of mine and a former colleague and a present colleague of mine, Ryszard Praszkier. He is a former researcher at the Institute for Social Sciences at the University of Warsaw and lecturer at the Polish Academy on Psychology of Leadership, on which he's written quite a bit. He is interested in the properties of social networks that support profound, peaceful social transitions. He was a Polish underground solidarity member. He worked as an international staff training director for Ashoka Innovators for the Public, and that's where we first met, I think in 1996, when we were both working for Ashoka. Yeah, and I wanted to bring to your attention, this is his latest publication from Cambridge University Press, The Meaning of Paradoxes and Paradoxical Thinking. And that was kind of a result of a paper that he published with iASK when he was here as a researcher, Social Network Analysis, Characteristics and Example Application, the Network Effect. And that is kind of the subject that he is going to be discussing today. So Ryszard, I leave it to you.
Oh, thank you, Jody, very much for your warm introduction. It happens that nearly after each of my fellowship here in CUSEC, Cambridge University Press is publishing a book. So maybe they have an agent here somewhere, and they publish the next book on the networks. So thank you for your presentation. Just to say a little bit more, my background is psychotherapy, but I was a founding director of a mental health clinic for children and youth, but we did psychotherapy not in a traditional way, more looking at the system, at the families, at the neighbors, not seeing the child or young people as an agent to treatment, but rather a member of a network. And that's how I started thinking about networks. Secondly, during this official job, I had an unofficial, which was participating in Polish solidarity movement, underground movement. And there I've seen a lot of networking, how this movement survives through networking, another inspiration. And finally, what Jody mentioned, we both actually launched from scratch Ashoka Innovators for the Public in Poland and Hungary. And this is also about social innovators around the world who pursue their missions, their social missions, through networking. And all that made me think that maybe there are some commonalities between them, so I joined the university, made some studies on that, published books and papers and so on. So this is in a nutshell. And here I will try to present the magic of networks together with the way of measuring magic. And this is an oxymoron, of course. How can you measure magic? But still, this is quite a challenge. And I'll be doing it through a diverse palette of examples, social resistant movements around the world, processing tomatoes, warfare example, animal world, inanimate matter world, and an example from the social sector. So we will see the occurrences of networks in various spheres, but the magic is that they are all the same in terms of the properties of those networks. So the disclaimer is that I am talking about when talking about people, not inanimate matter. I'm talking about significant connections, not the online that John commented Mary's photo on Facebook. And I'm not an expert in this, in those social media connectivity. I may say that I am an expert in person-to-person connection, which is done intentionally. So here's the first example. The Polish underground peaceful solidarity movement. It all started with cutting the telephone lines, then afterwards, after they were heavily bugged, no mobiles at that time, no internet, so no connectivity at all. The train travels you had to have special permission. Cars were searched at frequent checkpoints. Solidarity leaders were arrested or hiding. So there was no top-down vertical leadership. People were left alone, and the dream for freedom was in their own hands. So what they did, they started networking. The first one was to light candles in our windows at certain moment. And the magic of this was that this spread all across Poland with no telephones at that time. So how did people, I still don't know it, how did people connect that at the same hour, the same minute in all Poland you could see candles in the window? So word of mouth, of course, friends to friends, connections. Some of them may be dangerous because there may be some secret agents. Nevertheless, it worked out. The other examples are TV news talks. There was a regime-sponsored toxic propaganda TV news 7:30 p.m. lasting till 8 p.m. And someone got the idea that during that time, all the families go out from the blocks for walks with their babies and with children, socializing, having fun, playing, sharing jokes, and laughing, and sharply 8 when the news ended, everybody got back and had dinner, and yards were empty. So this was a protest, definitely against the regime, but nobody said a word against the regime. So it was not, in the factual level, it was not confrontational. So the police was completely helpless. Should they arrest families because they go out and socialize? And again, no telephones, no mobiles, no internet. This spread city to city, and you could see hundreds of people having fun socializing between 7:30 and 8 p.m. Again, networks, the magic of networks, tanks on the streets, police on the streets, but people having fun and laughing. So these were the covered solidarity networks, just people to people. And the matter of trust here was very important. Decades later, I made follow-up research, interviewing and putting some questionnaire online to the ex-Solidarity Underground leaders about the networks and trust. So what it occurred that during that time, only that time of underground solidarity, they trusted strangers, what was sort of sort of weird, because strangers may be agents, secret agents, but still they say, I don't care, I trust agents. Afterwards and before, we don't trust strangers, don't we? But during that dangerous time, they did. So many actions like publishing underground or underground radio broadcasting from the roofs, from tape recorders or whatever, required trusting strangers in a network of sharing tapes and so on. So this is sort of magic still, I don't understand. Another example from the civil rights movements, which I love to study and recommend to everybody, the civil rights part of it, because we all know about Martin Luther King speaking, talking, but we don't know about the movements which were bottom up. Especially, it started with Rosa Parks, the hero, the person who is being seen as the real initiator of the movement, who didn't give way to the white guy on the bus. It was in the black section, though the rule was when the white section is full, then the black people have to give way to the white. But she refused. She was arrested. And since then, the bus boycott started. A very strong network of people on the one hand boycotting buses, on the other hand organizing themselves in bottom-up system of carpools in which car owners volunteer their vehicles to drive people to various destinations from the bus stops. Also, taxi drivers gave bargain prices for which they were later punished. And so police couldn't cope with that. And Martin Luther King concluded that a miracle had taken place. Instead of taking buses, there was created a civic system of transporting passengers with own cars. Also, white drivers participated. And immediately there was set fire on his house. But nevertheless, this is an example. This civil rights movement wouldn't be as powerful as it finally was without those people, like sit-ins movement. In restaurants where you had sign whites only, blacks not welcome, there was an sit-ins movement organized that black people were entering, sitting in the bar, and didn't want to leave. So the police was called and police was dragging them away with photos made and so on. And again, it was all across, especially South, but also New York and so on. So this movement and many others, like, I don't have a slide here, but there was Gloria Gilmore, who was a simple midwife, like Rosa Parks, a simple, small, sick woman. Gloria Gilmore started a club from nowhere, which was baking cakes, and the recipes for that are still on network. They are delicious, and selling them to support the movement. The income went to the civil rights movement, but they were also meeting, singing, and those songs are powerful. They are still there on network. So Gloria Gilmore created, again, a bottom-up network of people socializing, baking, and sharing, and so on. There are so many examples of that. So let's now move to business, to corporate sector. The story of Morningstar is that in 1990, there was a small group which started this Morningstar tomato processing factory. And they were building the first factory. And around March, it appeared that it is impossible to finalize the construction until July, when there was a deadline. In the meantime, the machinery was coming, subcontractors delivered their products, and the first tomatoes were to come very soon. And it looked like everything will totally collapse. What happened is that Chris Ruffer, the owner, initiators, gathered everybody on their plant, working place, and said, okay, down with all management, traditional management. Now, since now on, there are only two principles. One, people shouldn't use force or coercion against each other. And second, people should honor the commitments they make to others. These two rules are now iconic in the complexity theory work because they were enough. No more rules was needed to make it moving. in the complexity theory, they say the fewer rules, the better. The more lights on the streets, the worse. The more jams, traffic jam. The less signs and lights on the streets, the less traffic jams. So these fewer rules means that you should be kind to others, but also commitments are made not to a boss, but to your peer, to the guy you are working with, and vice versa. So Morning Star started to, the government was self-government actually, very horizontally. No bosses, the mission and peer-to-peer network was the boss. No titles, no promotions. Employees negotiate responsibilities with their peers. They can purchase what they want for their work. They can plan their business trips, and then after each year, they have the performance review with their peers, whether the purchase made sense or not. And also the compensations was decided on peer-to-peer basis, not by any kind of bosses. There was no boss at all. This made people being so committed, so loyal, that actually they made it till July, and they actually got this success in starting to protest tomatoes. Morning Star is one of the biggest in the world, handling 40% of tomatoes processed in the US, and 400 employees, 700 million in annual revenue. And what is important is that when you interview them, they say that weekends are boring because we are waiting until the weekend ends and we can start on Monday again our tomato game. They call it tomato game. So again, a network, the big, huge corporation is managed through a network, peer-to-peer network with a great success. What does it mean? It means that you don't necessarily need this vertical structure, which consumes a lot of money and very often is putting the company backwards because those managers not necessarily are very efficient. You just need a network. Well, you understand now that how much I'm fascinated with this magic of networks. So another example from the battlefield. It was during the first Persian-Gulf War, and this is about Stanley McChrystal, the general who was leading the special commands. And during the battle, when there was shelling and so on, he completely decentralized the commandment. He said, okay, soldiers, now you on the ground, you know best actually what is necessary. You are the best to make decisions, not us here hundreds of miles or thousands away. So during the battle, during shelling, the soldiers took responsibility in their own hands and figured out the best solution. Actually, what he did, he discarded the top-down model and replaced the task force during the war into a network that combined extremely transparent communication with decentralized decision-making. You can read about it in this book, Team of Teams, by General Stanley McChrystal, and he tells there about this horizontally management, and he tells there about also managing in the complexity world, both business and battlefields, through turning chaos to a very well orchestrating and well organized system. By the way, if anybody would want the slides, just send me an email. I will send you the PDF with all those names, books, and references. Okay, now what about animals networking? This was about humans. Is it also in the animals world possible? And are they also networking together, animals? So here is about, you have to wait a minute, you'll see fireflies blinking. probably it will be difficult to see, but there is some blinking here. The fireflies are blinking in a synchronized way. It was actually discovered in the Great Smoky Mountains in the US in 1992. Then many researcher studies were made on the mathematics of this synchronized blinking. To make this short, the long story short, it was a very, very good book written by Stephen Strogatz. The title is Think How Order Emerges from Chaos. And he also writes a lot about those fireflies and other occurrences that animals and other elements synchronize with each other. Another example is the V-shaped flock of birds. You can you all know that there is no boss. The guy at the very on the beginning here is not a boss. They change places. They are so well organized, and in the complexity science words they call it emergent phenomena. In this phenomena of a V shape, through thousands of kilometers, migrating to Africa and back. And they are organized through exchanging information on gravity, on magnetic poles, and so on, between each other. So again, a network. It was well studied and proven that a network of communication between birds make them keep this emergent V-shaped phenomena for kilometers. Now here is my favorite. This is about puppies in a total chaos. And see, they are chaotic, but left alone, nobody is directing them or ruling. No top-down commander, but between themselves, they exchange information and synchronize. See, isn't that a phenomenon? Then I was thinking, okay, what about inanimate matter? Do things like this, did that synchronize inanimate matter? Is it possible? So let's see an example. These are metronomes. They're put on move in a very chaotic way. And you have to be patient, and you'll see what happens. Okay, on YouTube, if you look up synchronized metronomes, you'll see also videos of like 100 of metronomes synchronizing together. So what it means that it's everywhere. There is a tendency. The nature of the God gave us, people, animals, inanimate matter, a tendency to synchronize, because synchronizing makes it easier, better. In case of metronomes, of course, the physicists know how it happens. It's the lowest level of energy when they synchronize. But in case of people or birds or fireflies, it's still a matter of analysis and still a sort of a wonder. Another aha reaction was when I was thinking about the air and the molecules in the air. If you study each single molecule, you will never know what happens when they are together. And when they are together, they have the potential of conducting sound waves. But you will never know that. You will never discover this potentiality analyzing single molecules. So there is a sort of a mystery embedded in the molecules being together. It's same with people. There is a mystery, because if you know, I am a psychologist, and I know that you can analyze single persons, individuals, you can know a lot about them, But I will never know what will happen if they come together. There are some occurrences which are sometimes absolutely astonishing, unbelievable, that people, when they come together, for instance, when I visited inner cities in the US, in Philadelphia, inner city is the ghetto. It looks like after Third World War and so on. I visited them because there was a few guys came together. One said, I want a kindergarten. Another said, I want a dancing group. And another, I want a sports group. But to do that, we need to clean up. And to clean up, we need to keep it, maintain it clean. So bottom up, the people, those people gathering together, they created a sort of dynamics, making this inner city prices, property prices rising, because the people there were keeping it clean. Bottom up, peer-to-peer communication. And a little bit from the complexity science point of view, you have this common writ, the synchronization. By the way, as a shrink, I wrote an article with my friend on how to treat autism, that the only way actually which is available to treat autistic children is through rhythm, because they love to get into rhythm. So it was quite innovative and interesting. So the synchronization makes things easier, makes the energy level lower, makes the communication easier. And then it enables the phenomena of emergence of new entities, new phenomena, where they jump out of this synchronization. But the disclaimer is that with humans, there is a need of a sense of a common important mission, because otherwise this process wouldn't happen. Like in the tomato processing company, the common mission was this tomato and peer-to-peer and so on. This was so compelling, so engaging, that it made them all synchronize. So people and those guys in the inner city, they made this their neighborhood so clean and nice and pricey, only because they had this mission for so this is very important. So another example from the social sector. This is close to Jody's and my experience in the 90s, in the mid-90s. There was a community in northern Poland, very backward, many donations. It was after the communist kolkhoz, and people were totally lost and on donations, drinking, abusing alcohol, and many governmental top-down projects were there, of course, but then when they stopped organizing festivals, it backfired, because people were mad that they stopped organizing festivals. So instead of taking responsibility in own hands. At some point, someone, well, I never write it, but because they will fire me from the university, but it was in a bar, drinking vodka. Someone said, we are like hobbits. And the other said, okay, so maybe we should turn into hobbits. And they started the process of turning their village into hobbiton, with reshaping their houses, using their own resources, own work. Women were knitting the dresses of hobbits, and hundreds of buses, school students coming to visit and play in this hobbiton. See here, bottom right, that children playing with those hobbits. And they made a hell of money. Actually, the problem was how to actually spend the profit. So before, the big impulses from outside damped the process, and that was how it looked before. And the sense of common mission, the bottom-up network and horizontality resulted in a significant development. They don't need any donations. They took it in own hands, organized Hobbiton, and they are well off. So this is my, again, the fascination with horizontality. It's because it was proven now with research that not only horizontal, but diagonal communication, especially diagonal, which is the boss of one department communicating with someone on the bottom of the other department. That makes a lot of problem solving easier, increases the morale of participants, supports conflict resolution, and deepens the understanding of the organization's mission and values. There was, it all started, the transition in the Silicon Valley in the US all started with an insight. Jody, you're looking at, how much time do I have?
10 minutes, 5 to
10?
10 minutes.
Oh my goodness. So there was the company in Chaos, which removing asbestos, was better off in the results because people were moving in unexpected spaces with people who they didn't know and were inspiring each other. So certain Chaos, meeting unknown people, like that was discovered in the Yahoo, that if you put the coffee machine in the center and just sip coffee and meet people whom you never met before, then there is a higher profit than when everybody sits in own silos in own offices. And this is the coffee machine syndrome, which is now a catchword in the Silicon Valley, to make spaces where people socialize, exchange, and that is generates better profit than others. So if there is there's some time constraints, but I use also this for treating people. Like this is the genogram, family genogram of a lady right on the bottom, who was depressed, feeling lonely, and so on. So I started to draw with her family genogram. We discovered some people who she didn't even know. So now suddenly she understood that she's not alone, that she wants to meet those 3 persons circled here, that there is a sense for her life, and the depression stopped. Also in the AA network, you have the AA network not only for talking, meeting together, but also for helping each other in the crisis situation, and the awareness of being, having this support possible. That actually makes it, empower those people. So I was interested because traveling around America, I've heard from everybody, we are having a network effect. So I was asking them, okay, sir, but how do you know? How do you measure it? How do you compare networks? I don't know. So that made me decide to make this network effect tangible, to measure so-called informal networks, so that the informal networks where people gossip about their boss during the lunchtime or Friday evening and so on. All those informal networks make a lot of sense, the way the people things function instead of the, Thank you, Ivana. That means that I have to wrap up. But you know, if I stand, then if I stand up, then people will laugh.
That's great. 3 extra minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
3 extra minutes. No problem.
It's okay, I will be sitting here all the day. So to conclude, I skipped some slides. Social network analysis is the name for a way to analyze networks. And so there are several kinds of networks, decentralized, distributed, centralized, and we can talk a lot about the are they better? Is decentralized better? Or is distributed better, or centralized better? And this is another topic. In case of epidemics, of course, the middle, the one is better because you cut one connection. And so in terms of being cooperative, the distributed are good. So I decided to make a pilot in the social sector, which was the first attempt. Before they tried this in business, but this was only aimed on profit, not on just knowing how people connect. And here in the slides you have the variables which are being measured. First, the whole network as a whole, the number of nodes, average degree, which means sorry for the jargon. The jargon is here. The nodes means people, degree means connections. Network density, how many connections are divided by all possible connections. Average path length is how many other nodes you have to traverse to get to other nodes. And network diameter, which is sort of how compact they are, and the cohesion, structural cohesion is very important. How many you need to cut connections to dissolve the network. So on the left side, one cut. On the right, you have to at least 4, which is much better as for being lively and immune for distraction and so on. Individually, in degree, how many connections come to a node, how many go out, closeness, centrality is distance from any other node so again, a compact. And between a centrality, when others go to other places, how many of them have to cross you on their way. So the target was Polish Ashoka Fellows, 77 living. And the 2 questions: who are you in contact with intentionally? With whom do you cooperate? So here are the results: connections. And this connectivity, I think, is quite high. The density of connections is exceptionally high. The number of nodes which are in high structural cohesion is also high. Only a few of them have 1 or 0. So this actually, and here this system, social network analysis, enables also analyzing hubs of dense connectivity and structural holes, which is areas of very rare connectivity, and this could all be visualized. And also, the other question is, does this dense connectivity instigate also some value added, some newness, some cooperation? And here is the second question. The cooperation connections. Also, see, so many, over 280 lines of cooperation which are not top-down. It's not intentionally done by the staff. It's between them, horizontally. They all create a value added to the mission, to their own mission and to the organization's mission. So this is the power, the real power of dense connectivity, which generates a potential the cooperation network, which actually boosts the results of the company. And here to conclude, and this is a question to you, Jody, and to Ferenc. What about iASK alumni, students, and fellows? Should we analyze how they communicate, or some of them, do they cooperate? Do we know? Maybe we should know that cross-national, there are some cross-national lines of cooperation. And if you would want to do that, I'm here to serve. Thank you very much.
Ivana, that you are next. You all know Ivana. She is my right hand and my left hand here. So she is a researcher at iASK, and we're going to kind of be moving. I really like the way actually this panel came together, because Branislav was supposed to be organized in the afternoon, except that he has to leave before then. But we moved from kind of a universalistic kind of approach to what I like to call, I'm going to remember this for a book title, The Mystery of Synchronicity, to more European national level. Now we're going to get even to a more local context with Ivana's presentation.
Thank you so much, Jody. So I wanted to just show you one example of digital ethnography, because this is maybe interesting for you to learn a little bit how we can apply digital ethnography in this research of protests. And the Serbian student protest is a very good example, which you can study the narratives online, because a lot of the narratives are being reproduced on social media. Gergo, I'm sorry, is it that I'm pressing, yeah, the right, left. Turn it. Ah, yes. I knew that there was a catch. So, so I just wanted first to start, because Branislav mentioned student protests, but many of you don't know the context. And I'm going to be really, really brief, just to say that these student-led protests are against corruption. So this is the idea, and the whole movement, or the whole protest, was triggered by the collapse of the roof canopy in Novi Sad railway station on November 1st, 2024, which killed 16 people. However, this is not what triggered the student blockades. What happened after that is that peaceful protests honoring victims that comprised of 16 minutes of silence were brutally disrupted by some kind of violence. And I would call this unofficial violence, not by the police itself, but by some disruptive actors, some of which were identified by students that belong to the ruling party. And this is what triggered the incident in front of the Faculty of Dramatic Arts in Belgrade, triggered student blockades. One after another, all of the universities in Serbia, all of the faculties entered into these blockades by the end of the year. So this is a really widespread protest. And the students in the beginning had 4 demands, which included prosecution and punishing of these perpetrators. And also the demands included revealing all the documents about the canopy, prosecuting the perpetrators of this corruption crime. So what I wanted to say so now we come to the point where the role of social media comes, and this is what I try to analyze, and this is my new project. So I only just have started doing this, and I did the preliminary research, and this is what I'm going to show you what I've done. So social media played a key role in student protests, in my opinion, enabling these plenums, which are the unique direct democracy mechanism that students are using to make decisions. So they're not making decisions by some kind of a parliament or some kind of, so what Ryszard talked about, how there is no leader in Serbian protests. And basically they decide through one-person one-vote system. And these plenums and also their organized actions are enabled through this instant communication through social media. So I'm not going to be dwelling on this too much. Just wanted to share the elements of my theoretical framework. This has been developing from my previous work. Hybrid media activism, which explains the hybrid nature of contemporary activism. Affective publics, which explains mediated feelings of disconnectedness and politics and network publics in the digital age. Platform solidarity, which explains how digital platforms change their affordances to support particular social movements. Digital presumption labor, which is for me very important because it's showing the connection between digital consumption and production, which is merged in social media especially. Scalable sociality, which shows that we don't have clearly public or private spaces, but rather a scale on social media. And then finally, this transnationalism from below. Also everyday peace and my own concept, algorithmic reconciliation, which I'm so proud of from my book. Oh, thank you. So yeah, the methodology is online observation. There is a sample here. This is random sample. This needs further clarification, which will be in my paper. It is complicated the system how to take sample when you have algorithmic bias. So from these three platforms, and then also narrative analysis. Corruption is really the main theme of these Serbian protests across the region. But there are also common problems that are connecting the region, and this is what I try to observe, how the region is reacting, and different also ethnic groups also within Serbia. So there are these connecting problems: corrupted elites, shoddy construction work, high prices and inflation, environmental problems associated with mining, with hydropower plants, etc. But also catastrophes, natural catastrophes as catalysts for regional solidarity and cooperation. So some of the notable examples are, for example, fire in Macedonia recently, floods in Bosnia and Herzegovina, mass shootings in Cetinje, Montenegro, earthquake in Croatia in 2020. It's a notable example as well. And there was also, during the student protests, a regional boycott of supermarkets, which is a kind of a regional attempt to criticize, or how to say, to put in question also the whole capitalist idea of common markets. But it was basically what was interesting to me is that there was some kind of coordination across the region, which was also enabled through social media. So this wasn't so much in the traditional media as much as in the social media. So now I just want to say a few words about the role of algorithms, which I think is not only toxic. Usually we talk about AI and algorithms in the sense of this negative impact. However, my research has shown also in my book, which I published for Routledge recently, is that it shows that algorithms work two ways. Like, we impact the algorithms, algorithms impact us, and nobody can fully control them. That is because this is the main issue with them. So even though they are abused, they can still be used for resistance. That's the and also they connect the region as a common digital market, which is interesting because they are then challenging these nationalist tendencies that politicians and politics imposes. So they are in themselves kind of controversial and enable some kind of resistance, and also they aid digital activism as much as they can undermine it. This is just one funny meme that is this platform solidarity in the region, and I'm gonna end shortly because I don't think we have too much time. I want to leave a lot of room for the conversation afterwards, but just wanted to say that social media really helps spread the solidarity, spread the news across the region, even though traditional media are maybe not putting so much emphasis on this kind of news. So also across Europe, students can connect with each other through social media, even though traditional media are not really writing a lot about the protests. And whenever I talk to people from other countries that are not Serbia or Croatia maybe, they don't even know what is happening in Serbia. So social media are again helping this. Spread the news about. So these are the examples in Croatia and in Slovenia that there were gatherings in support of Serbian students. And also, which is very interesting, is that the memes become regional because of a funny, let's say, commentary on the one of the politicians from Serbia. I now forgot what was her function. She said something. She had she reversed two words in one saying, and then this created a meme. And because she said something like, who takes the sword, we should die from the sword, but she reversed something, and it turns out lacha mati, which is a lot like matcha latte. And yes, and this was former prime minister, but now I don't know what she is. The parliamentary. She's Mr. Speaker, if somebody knows, from the UK Parliament. So yeah, so this is a regional meme. Like I was researching a lot of content on TikTok and on Instagram, and it turns out that this is very popular in Croatia, in Slovenia, in a lot of different parts of former Yugoslavia. So that was for me an interesting example of how a meme can again connect the region through humor and some kind of resistance maybe. So these are some of the narratives. So this is, I'm wrapping up because I don't want to talk too much, so you can see some of them. And they are showing really this connection across the borders and these narratives of solidarity and cooperation across the borders and solidarity among different ethnicities in Yugoslavia and different peoples from former Yugoslavia. Some of the hashtags that help show the visibility, and of course these are some of the conclusions. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will pass the mic to Aleksandra.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm glad that we got some positive, perspective on AI and also the use of social media, because I don't know how much it's covered, but I mean, there's a lot of negative, analysis out there. I would like to now pass the microphone over to Aleksandra Bulatović from Belgrade, the Institute for Philosophy and Social Theory, and I want to thank you for coming. We've heard a lot about your department down there from Ivana, so I'm very glad to have another perspective from you.
Thank you so much, Jody. Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be able to be with you here today. But right now, I feel that I just can forget about my preparations for the speech today, but rather try to fill in the gaps because parts of what I wanted to talk to you about were already mentioned by Branislav and by Ivana. So first of all, a few months ago, I would claim that I would never speak about the ongoing protests publicly right now, because it's simply not ethical for somebody who is immersed into process to also is pretending that is capable of wearing a hat of a researcher and to speak about it. But there you go. Here I am. And to make things worse, let me just briefly sort of introduce myself, or rather list a few hats of mine. I'm a research fellow to the institute, which is part of University of Belgrade. It's a very specific position because we, as an institution, are not affiliated to any faculty of the University of Belgrade, but still are a member of the university, unlike all other institutes, public research institutes in humanities and social sciences. So that puts us in a pretty impossible position vis-a-vis everyday functioning, because the result of the social unrest in Serbia is a blockade of the work of the university. So as a member to the university, we should be sort of solidar about it, but then we don't predominantly work with students, but we are a research institute, so it doesn't really make sense not to be engaged into research. And this is what majority of my colleagues actually did for the previous months. They were heavily, and they are still heavily engaged into different kind of research of the ongoing protest. Whereas myself, I first was quite confused. What should I be doing? Because for years I'm an activist in ecology. I was a member of a very influential, probably the most significant ecological, firstly informal and now formal organizations called Eko Straža, which is Eco Guard. The only entity that was capable of having several tens of thousand people on the streets before the students' uprising. There were no any kind of political or other entity that would sort of motivate citizens to go to the streets before. And by chance or by not, by the end of last year, I ended up joining another informal community. It's the community that gathers people who work in the IT sector. So in Serbia, there are about 60,000 people working in the IT sector, but the very craft itself doesn't have any kind of formal organization or anything that would even remotely resemble to some kind of a union organization, or even something that we could sort of recognize from the Middle Ages, you know, that was typical for the crafts such as jewelers or merchants. But then what was going on actually triggered the idea among those kind of professionals of somehow getting engaged into social processes. So to add a few more information about the civic unrest, it's not only about the student uprising, because what very quickly followed was actually the revolt among the sector of education. 117,000 people work in the sector of education. So these are school teachers, you know, elementary school and high school. And they also started to revolt. We had for a few weeks more than 80% of schools not operating at all, for various reasons. Some were motivated by union kind of requests, like a better position, higher salaries, etc. But the point is, everything is somehow resolving around justice. So in this way, I would argue to what Ivana said, that student uprising and the unrest is related to corruption, yes, but more broader term is justice, because it's not just that the corruption literally kills. It killed 16 people under the canopy roof in Novi Sad. But the problem is that no justice follows. There is no responsibility of people, public officials who are responsible for that. And we have been witnessing different kind of lacks of responsibilities for years now. And any kind of request is basically can be leveled to this notion of justice. And as we know, I mean, if we know anything about political science, we know that the request for justice is the most sexy one when it comes to elections, any kind of elections. There's always justice somehow appearing. But this is not about being attractive. This is all about bringing politics to life and having a life that is sustainable. So when I'm speaking about bringing politics of life, I'm referring to the previous overall feature of Serbian society, previous, like before the student uprising, where the main feature was actually anomy. So even now, although I'm fully immersed in the uprising in various ways, I still don't fully grasp how it was possible, how the students all of a sudden woke up and managed so quickly to wake up the entire nation, you know, resulting in people standing on the streets, waiting for the students who are constantly engaged into some kind of walk marches and run marches around Serbia, which at first doesn't have a sense, but if you consider that the media are completely controlled by the government, it's the only way that people can actually learn that there is something going on somewhere where there are university centers, and that students disapprove it to the extent that they are walking for 150 kilometers. So we say that the only way to confront bloody hands, which are used as a symbol of the authoritarian rule of the government, is to confront them with bloody feet. Because after so many kilometers of walking on a hard surface, inevitably you end up not just with blisters, but virtually open wounds. So fight the bloody hand with hands with bloody feet. So going back to the framework for the general civic unrest. So it's not just a blockade of the universities and students uprising, but also blockade of schools. I'm a mother of a boy who is now the first grade of high school, and he was not attending the school from the end of December till 19th of May. So the school year has been slightly extended because the Ministry of Education insists on obeying certain legal requirements for like normed way of ending up the school. So right now I think he's basically doing the test in math, but hopefully successfully. So he and his schoolmates were virtually protesting in the school. They were sleeping in the school. They were eating in the school. They were protesting in front of the school. Not just this silent 16 minutes as a reminder for the 16 victims of the Novi Sad canopy roof, but also they were going throughout the town, making different kind of arrangements with different high schools. So you had like really a social unrest. So nothing was normal. So, and there was me, all of a sudden, being in a surrounding of people who are experts in IT, me not knowing almost nothing about it. So I asked the people who invited me to join, like, what am I supposed to do here? And they said, well, you know, we need you. You're a lawyer by formal education, and we know that you write well. We would need probably something to be written so you can help. By the end of January, we started to chat on a platform, Discord platform, which is favorite for IT people. We started to chat about the possibility that the government is so crazy and the Minister of Education is so ridiculously crazy that they will, in order to exercise pressure on the teachers who are not teaching, that they will deny salaries to the teachers. So it was an idea, and most people thought that no, it's not going to happen, it's too crazy. But by the end of February to me and to several of other people, it became as something that imminently happened. And the engineers, the IT engineers, all of a sudden started discussion, you know, how we could help them, you know, in a solider matter. And what is important for people to make distinction when we think about solidarity, it's not the same as assistance, humanitarian assistance or philanthropy. What is important with solidarity, to remind us all here, is that we share a political goal and that we are ready to take our part of responsibility in reaching this political goal. So discussion on server was as follows. Okay, let's figure out some kind of financial support to the teachers, because these crazy people are going to really leave them without their monthly salaries. And anyway, they are very poorly paid. So it would be really an immense pressure on them to stop to protest. And then we sort of went through different kind of ideas, and each was like a dead end, because there was a possibility of the state putting a grip on the money, collected in this way or distributed in that way. And one guy said, well, why don't we do peer-to-peer, like from one physical person to other physical person? So we went through the legal regulations about possibilities. Obviously, there are constraints in regard to the amount of money that can be transferred per annum from one physical person to the other, but it's not impossible, especially if we have big numbers, if a lot of people get engaged. And the tech team at that time was like, okay, but you know, these kind of projects, they develop for at least 2 months. And we are approaching to 6th of March, because salaries in the area are being paid in two payments monthly, on the 6th and on the 21st in the month. So it's like 10 days from now, what can we do? And okay, we have Excel file, we have 2 scripts. We have to do something. We have to say that there are people who are supporting them, and that's how the Solidarity Network was born. Through this network, more than 200 million dinars have been given to the teachers. And it's not just the amount of money, it's the fact that we have in our base several tens of thousands of people who are donating money solidarily to the teachers. The same thing that happened to the teachers in the school happened to the professors at the universities only 1 month afterwards. So we also invited to the network the people who work at the university, and they also are beneficiaries of the network. And this is science fiction. In the meantime, the application was ready, and it's very easy now to donate and to follow what is going on with your money. And then my role in the network became more apparent, because I was articulating everything about the solidarity, and also the way the policy is being envisaged. So obviously it's better if people donate more money, but then I said, but we should not be excluding people on the cases of being poor. We have to allow this agency to happen, because it's something that is contradicts the enemy that we had. So we had those people. It's like Granny standing by the road, waiting for the students who are walking for 100 kilometers to pass by, and she's holding 1 apple in her hand, because that's only she can share with them. So we enabled a small amounts of money being distributed via a Solidarity Network. So, because I was warned that I don't have many minutes more to speak, I will just briefly try to highlight some important points. For students and the uprising, I was thinking about how to name my speech. And first I thought, okay, it's basically effective economy of revolt. But then I think that it explains the situation better to say from frustration to formation. Because the Serbian students' uprising is basically doing a political reconfiguration. It's a process, it's based on emotions. The initial emotion is anger, but the underlying emotions are humiliation, frustration, those kind of things. But students are basically managing to create a commons, a new commons that is not just resources. And in these commons, the elements are not universities only, as public space is now being shared with everyone, but also social networks, memes, as Ivana said, and what is from the point of politics very important, chat applications. Because we all have, or majority of us have, some kind of profile on some kind of social network. But in order to join a certain chat application, you have to be motivated to think politically and to get engaged actively into that. And this is what we are witnessing. So by and large, student uprising is virtually bringing to life politics in Serbia. Opposition parties are obviously perceived as redundant as they are now. There is this pressure on them to change, but they are still resisting to it quite strongly. And what is also interesting is that students inspired these local civic assemblies to be formed, not just at the level of municipality, but in different kind of frameworks. So you have like, it's called zbor in Serbian. So you have like zbor of teachers in schools. You have zbor of your municipality. Basically, people want to have the experience of direct democracy. And I think that it is something probably what was the main drive behind the members of the network of solidarity, the donors, because it's a kind of an alternative civic mobilization modality, something that we have seen about 15 years ago in Iceland after the financial crisis. But now it's getting new dynamics and a new speed, and with development of digital tools, it even becomes a more realistic, even in Serbia, which is still quietly lagging behind the digital development. So thank you all, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have.